Okay, Kaylee. Thanks for sending me next swinging, mate. I appreciate it. Okay, so I just got your just pulled your swing up a little bit. Pulled up Tommy Fleetwood on the right side because I want to explain how what's going on, which is going to still cause what's going on in your swing, which is still going to cause you to hook it, right? Miss-hit it a little bit and also hook it, right? Now I've stopped you there, which is kind of where I want you at the top of the swing, right? You can see your head still in the box, your forehead is still on the wall, pretty much, right? You start with the forehead on the wall, get up to the top about there, forehead still pretty much on the wall, right? What you do is you go a little bit too far. Now your forehead starts coming off the wall, look, right? As you and you're going too far and across the line, and then as you start down, your head then starts moving back away from the wall. So you're moving your forehead away from the wall, right? As you're doing that, most of the guys that get it across the line at the top always start the swing coming down quite steep, right? So you can see the angle of that. The shaft's kind of pointing down to your toes a little bit. So what happens then is you got to try and make room for yourself, right? So your head comes back more off the wall, right? And I'm watching your forehead move away from that red line, and as you're doing that, you're extending your spine too early, right? So from P4 down to P5 and down to P6, you want to be really flexing your spine forward. You want to be bending forward. Your head should be dipping down, and if anything, you should be kind of feel as though your forehead's pushing against the wall there, right? So you can see Fleetwood, his head dips a little bit. Most of them, their head dips a little bit as they push down into the ground. But you can see as he comes down, that forehead is really pushing up against that imaginary wall there, right? Yours comes away from the wall. So what happens is your spine is kind of getting too erect too early, right? If you like, too upright too early instead of bending down forward. And then what happens is it shallows out the shaft a little bit. And then you can see there, if I stop you right there, and I've drawn that yellow circle, you can see how the club head is underneath the plane slightly, right? So you're attacking the ball a little bit too much from the inside, and then after impact there, and particularly there and there, you can see just how that shaft is outside of the plane, right? The two shaded lines, the plane lines, one going through the shaft in the setup, the other one going through the elbow. We want to swing the club up and down those lines, right? And then at impact and after impact, keep them between the lines. So you get your shaft to there. So your shaft is on that green line, on that yellow line now. Your club head is out there where that yellow circle is. Now, if we stop Fleetwood just after impact, you can see how his shaft and the club head are both still on that top blue line, right? So that's what we're after. We're after a swing which attacks the ball. The club attacks the ball from the inside a little bit, hits the ball, and then finishes, comes round on the inside. You're attacking the ball a little bit too much on the inside, and then staying really on the outside there instead of kind of turning the corner, right? And a lot of that is to do with what your head's doing, right? It's to do with what your head's doing. Now your head's coming back, you're early extending. That drops the club head under the plane. All the good good players do that, right? You get to a certain standard, like maybe a single-digit handicapper, and that you're hitting the ball far enough. You're striking it okay. Now it's about, well, how do I correct the shot shape, right? What do I have to change in my swing to hit this ball straighter and more accurate, and cut out these big curves, which are getting me in trouble, right? So that's the first one, right? We need to be swinging. We need to be able to swing left more after impact instead of swinging more straight down the line, Right, you see where that club head's outside, club head's outside, look at that. Look where your club head is. Right. So we need to be in a position where we can swing left, turn more. So I think a lot of it is being able to give your body a chance of doing it by keeping your forehead against the wall, right, and keeping your head in the box. If we pull your swing up from this way, you're still kind of drifting that head forward a little bit as we start the swing, look. So I think it drifting forward out the box and kind of drifting away from the wall. So if I get rid of all those yellow lines, so your head's moving away from the wall and also forward there, right? And then just touching on what I spoke about last time with regards to squeezing the elbows together. I think part of the reason why you're going back too far here is just how wide apart your elbows are, right? So we need to get those elbows squeezing together more, right? And you can feel that in the setup and you can feel that in the takeaway. But you can see right as you take it away there, a lot of right arm bend in that bit, right? So we need to get that structure better. And that's what I mean by stopping at the top around there, right? So if you work on keeping your head in the box and squeezing your elbows together, so it's going to feel like that right elbow's going that way, the left elbow's coming this way, right? And you're going to feel that in the setup here, right? So feel as though these elbows are together, right? And then you're working on keeping the head in the box. Maybe less hitting balls, working on distance and hitting the ball a long way, and rather more focusing on technique, right? So for the time being, accept that you might hit your irons 10, 15 yards shorter, right? So instead of having a 7 iron into the green on a par 3, you might have to hit a 6 iron just until you get used to this new technique, right? But that's where I want to see you at the top of the swing there, right there. And if I pull up a pro, Rocky, that would be a good one. So there's the wall. There's the elbows closer together, right? You can see how this right arm is kind of from the shoulder to the elbows, kind of pointing over. He's kind of pointing over that way, right? A little bit too much space under that right arm there, whereas there's very little space underneath his right arm, right? Maybe just a fraction there. So you can get something under your right armpit, right? Get a T-peg, get an old glove, get that under your right armpit. So that's part of it, and the other part of it is making sure those elbows are closer together. If I draw a line from your elbows, you can see how that gap, that space there is a lot greater, right? So that's him at the top, right there, look. And that's you at the top. So you can see what I mean by going a bit too long and a bit too much across the line, right? So then as he starts down, he kind of comes back a little bit out of it, right? Not a great example, not a great example of what I'm trying to get at there. Camera's definitely not moving. But if he slowed this down and saw his head coming back that way, he wouldn't be... that's something he would want to get a little bit better. Who else we got? Let's see what Charlie's doing here. So there's the wall. Yeah, see that? So he really pushes into the wall with his forehead. Looks like the camera's moving as well a little bit. Looks like somebody's holding the camera rather than it being on a tripod. But again, look at the right arm position at the top. If we zoom in there, right, and then zoom in with yours, right, it's like he's got more of his arm pinching on the side of his torso. All of your arm is away from your torso. So kind of get a glove, get a T-peg, whatever you need to do to get a bit more pinching under that right arm, right, to get to feel that right arm more against the side of your body. That, as well as squeezing the elbows together, as well as keeping the head in the box. And I mean in the box from both angles, right? So keeping your head against the wall. There, as you come down, there, a little bit of movement back, not much though, right? Keeps his head pretty nicely in the box there, right? That way, and no moving forward. There. You see what I mean? That way. We want to keep your head in the box. The head has to stay. The centre of the shoulders has got to stay in the middle of the stance. It's the hips that move forward and turn and extend through impact and after impact, right? That's what we want to do. So again, the way you do that is, you get yourself in a doorway, right? Get your forehead up against the doorway. Practice what it feels like to just keep your forehead against the doorway, right? A way you could do it from face on is getting a stick on the ground. You can see there. You see if you stop there, and I said, right, now stop at P5, left arm parallel with the ground. And I said, right, where's your head now? Give me some feedback on your awareness of where your head is compared to that stick on the ground. And you'd say, it's forward, right? Another little trick I use is I say to people, right, well, if your head's moving forward that way, right, as you start down, try and get it moving the opposite way, right? Try and get it moving the opposite way. So you move it forward, you try and move it back. And then when you get a camera on you and you film yourself, you video yourself, and you're trying to move it back, you will actually probably find it's just dead centered. It hasn't moved, right? So we don't want it to move laterally, and we want to keep your head on that. On that doorway there, on that wall. Okay, mate. Any questions? Just shoot me back an email. Cheers.